Hey guys, welcome to the Dr. Cloud Show. It's good to have you. I'm going to say, today, this morning, because we're at a little different time than normally. Normally, we do this at 1 p.m. Pacific. Today, my schedule wouldn't allow that, so we moved it up. And I was kind of thinking, all of you East Coasters and all of you Central Time Zone folks, we're kind of catching you around the lunch hour now. So maybe that's better for you. But you know what? If you're a regular listener, the show sits on there on the different platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, 24/7. So you can always go and see that day's show. You can always download it as a podcast as well. Wherever you get your podcast, just go to boundaries.me and you will find the program. Okay, well, it's good to be back. Let me for those of you who are new, somebody might have told you about us, you might have found us, a little bit about what we do on this show. I'm Dr. Cloud, I'm your host. And we talk about life. We talk about a lot of things. I'm a shrink by training, and so we talk about stuff that psychologists are interested in, and that's like how you feel, how you're thriving, how are your moods or anxiety states or addictions or things like that. We also talk about your relationships, all of them, marriage, parenting, dating, in-laws, extended family, adult children, adult parents that act like children, and it just goes downhill from there. So I won't do that. But we got relationship stuff, right? Also, we talk about your performance life. You ever thought about that? That you have a performance life, meaning that you have gifts and abilities, and those gifts and abilities and talents should be generating up towards dreams and goals and things you want to accomplish in life. And then you step out and you perform. Well, sometimes that goes awry, right? Sometimes we have difficulty, can't get organized enough, or procrastinate, or fear of failure, or fear of success, or get lost along the way, or don't do well and crash and burn. And we talk about all of that. So give us a call. Let me give you the phone number. You can call in 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774. That's how you get on the program to talk. All right. So enough of that. Let's launch into talking a little bit about a topic. In the beginning of the program, I always talk about some idea. And I want to throw one out there this morning. We should do a whole series on this sometimes, actually. Um, but the word is negotiation. Negotiation. Now, you may be sitting wherever you sit in life, and you may think, negotiation, I don't have to do that. I'm not in sales. I don't do the contracts for our company. I don't, or some of you may say, gosh, I'm a stay-at-home parent. There's negotiate. Well, you know what? You negotiate every single day, every single day. And a lot of times we give kind of an adversarial, feel to that word. Like, we're going to butt heads. We got to negotiate this because it's a tricky. Well, a negotiation is basically two people coming together and figuring out an agreement. Now, think about that if you look at it that way. Honey, where are we going to go to dinner tonight? Well, I don't know. I kind of like this. Well, I don't like that. I like this. You're in a negotiation. Try to get your kid to do their homework. You're in a negotiation. Trying to figure out what the family is going to do, or what you and the person you're dating are going to go do. You're in a negotiation. Trying to figure out with your boss, how you do your schedule and stuff like that. You're in a negotiation. So it's really important, I think, to understand in life. I mean, I think I don't know where this came from. It's probably some ad on one of those negotiation seminars. But it's true, kind of, sort of, mostly, pretty much. You don't in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you negotiate. Meaning that a lot of times things that we want are very doable. They're very havable, if you will. But there's an obstacle in the way because it's going to require some agreement from somebody on the other side that has some power to block it or some power to say no or whatever. And we have to be able to get to a yes at some point. And so that's why this is important. Now, I want to just give one or two little thoughts about this that I want you to go for you to go think about. Think of some standstill that you're at with someone. Okay. Let's say your kid wants to have a curfew of 1 a.m. You want them to have a curfew of 11:30. All right. So you're in this logjam. Okay. Or let's say you want to do some work on the house and your spouse doesn't want to start that work because they want to live through all of that chaos for a few months while you're tearing that wall down or whatever. And so you're at this standstill. All right. What typically happens is people get at a standstill. You want this? I want this. Well, I'm not budging. Well, I'm not budging. There are a few things that are important as you find yourself in there that really begin to make that possible to get to something that works. All right. Let me give you a couple things to think about. Number one, get the negotiation going with yourself first. See, before you go in there, start to think about, you might even write these down, start to think about what's really important to you here. What's really important to you? Where's my bottom line? My very bottom line. I can't give past here. Okay. What are the parameters that the solution has got to fit within? Are we going to go to, well, talk about remodeling that wall, but I got to make sure it's got to, however it's got to be done. It's got to be done within this time frame. It's got to be done within this budget. Okay. Or it's got to be done in a way where I can still use the kitchen every day, or. And there's certain time frames that you begin to think of that are important to you because here's what happens. You get into a negotiation and somebody says, I want this, and you're going to go, well, no, I can't do that. And really, you could do that if the other condition were satisfied. Okay. For example, you're negotiating the curfew thing. Okay. And he said, well, I want to come in and I don't, no, one's too late. Let's go to, nothing good happens after midnight. So well, why don't we just start with, how about, 12? Okay. And would you be open to that? And then the kid says, well, I don't know, 12's not, blah, 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 blah. But somehow you get to where 12 would be okay for him or her or whatever. But then you start to think, well, I don't know, that's not going to work for me. No, I want you home by 11:30. Well, why? Because I worry about you and I don't want to be up till 12. I don't mind being up till 11:30. Oh, so it's not the time that you're worried about, it's your sleep that you're worried about. Well, yeah, I don't want to be up that late. Well, okay, then how could we do this so you wouldn't have to be up that late? Okay, maybe we could even go 12:30 or whatever. I've actually been through this conversation. Well, I don't know. I go to bed. So how about this one? So what you're concerned about, Mom, is that you just want to make sure I made it home okay and in one piece and sleeping in my own bed and I'm sober, right? That's kind of like the parameters. Well, yeah, that's what I want to make sure of. All right, so what if we did this? What if we made it a little later, but I'll come into your room and I'll tap you on the shoulder and say, I'm home, and you'll see that I'm okay. And then you start to think, well, I guess that would work because I could go to sleep and I always go back to sleep pretty quickly. And so see now the point being, we've gotten to an answer without people holding on staunchly to their positions because we answered the need behind it. Let me give you another example. I want you to work, or I want you at this meeting every Monday at this time. Well, no, no, I can't make that time. Well, no, I got to have it because all the team. Well, no, I can't do that. How about this? And so then you start to talk about it, and then you start to listen past the position, and you figure out, well, why is 10 o'clock so important? And you begin to find out, well, because it's so important to me to not have it then because, by then I haven't been able to set up all the other things I do. And if you do it at 10, then that's going to interrupt. It's going to take a slot that I might have needed for another meeting, and I need the flexibility. Okay, so it's not 10 o'clock so much as that you need to be able to be flexible. So, because you might need to move it around. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, well, why don't we try this for a couple of weeks? Why don't we make it at 10? And you try your pattern, and if it turns out that you're needing that 10 o'clock slot to make a lot of stuff happen, then we'll look at, let's find a different one. You can cancel, but let's try that for a couple of weeks. Okay, so here's what I'm after here. A lot of times when you're in a log jam with somebody, it may not be about the answer that they're stuck on. No, I have to have this time or this amount of money or this, whatever it is. It may not be about that answer. It may be about another issue that answer is their best attempt to solve the other issue. Okay. That answer is their attempt at being able to solve that other issue. You see this all the time. This is where you negotiate on terms when you buy something. Well, I can pay that amount of money, but I can't pay it all up front. Okay, so it's the cash flow that's the problem. All right, well, let's solve that problem. So I guess the takeaway principles of this are, I want you to have a conversation with yourself before you go in and get in touch with what's really important to me. I know I'm saying that I can't make the 10 o'clock thing, but is that really what it is? Or how about this? You know what it is? I want to be able to name the time. This person tells me, it dictates to me all the time, what we're going to do. I want to have some choice. Okay, well, that changes things because now maybe 10 o'clock is an option if I feel like it's somehow my choice. So get in touch with what you want. Get in touch with what your bottom line is. Get in touch with what you can't go past and get out of the instant no. Get out of the instant no. Get in a mindset of, here's the question I like to have in my head. How can we make this work? How can we make this work? See, our different positions are in a logjam, but there's got to be a solution here that works for both of us. And in a negotiation, you're looking for a solution that you both can live with, okay? Because it helps you get the main things that are important to you. And that's the other thing. All things are not equally important. So sometimes we got to be willing to give on some less important items in our negotiation because we got the one or two things that are most important to us. All right. So it starts, as everything else, it starts with listening. When somebody says no, or somebody says, I don't want to do that, or say, don't instantly start to negate and argue and persuade. Listen to understand. Say, well, tell me why you need it that way. What's important about that for you? And not so we can pick it apart, but so we can truly hear the need. Oh, I get it. That is important. I can see why you would feel that way. How can we preserve that? What's the solution we could come up with that preserves that particular need? And you start to listen, and now we're both on the same side of the table negotiating against solving a problem instead of on the opposite side of the table butting heads. All right, little tip there. I hope that helps you. I'm sure you're going to be negotiating something today, and we will probably hear even some of that on some of our calls. If I look at my screen here, we are going to talk to Katie, who's calling us from Texas. Her father's an alcoholic, it sounds like, and that can be a really difficult thing. Katie, welcome to the Dr. Cloud Show.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call.
You're very welcome.
Well, do you want me to tell you a little bit about what's going on, or how do you want me to do it?
Tell me, just tell me, start with your question.
So, my question is, how do I create healthy boundaries as an adult, with my own marriage, my own life, and my own emotional health, while in the how do I not feel guilty about creating these boundaries with my father, who is now alone? 3 years ago, my parents were divorced, and I have so much guilt associated with not spending time with him, even though when I do spend time with him and when I am around him and when I do talk to him, the conversations are not very healthy. I have days after of anxiety and guilt and just
what
terrible feelings.
when you talk with him, so you visit him
Mhm.
regularly? Is there a kind of a cadence to this, or
Yes.
regular? What is that?
There's not regular visits or anything like that. It's very sporadic. A lot of times he bails on us when we've created plans with him, but he expects us to always be available when he wants to see us. There's just a lot of
But
weird expectations.
what is the cadence? How often
Very
do you see him?
sporadic. So
Are we talking about
yeah,
every
there
week? Or are we talking about
maybe once a month, maybe that.
and what is that for? Like y'all drop by, or you have dinner together, you spend the day? What do you do?
Usually, well, this last time I saw him, I had to deliver a package that had arrived at our house that was for him, and so I went out and took it to him. Um, and then before that, it was Father's Day, so we just met at a restaurant.
Okay.
But
So what
very
is it you're
non-specific.
wanting to end? What is it you're wanting to end? Boundaries have to do with limits, and you're saying there's certain
Mhm.
things that I just don't want to be uh I don't want to be hurt by, exposed by, or whatever,
Mhm.
certain kinds of things. Give me
Yeah.
two things that you would like to not have to experience anymore.
I would like for him to not feel like he can talk to me about anything and everything that is really just not my business, whether it's relationship, insecurities in his own life with his friends or whatever. I don't really I feel like he puts a lot of pressure on me to
How do
be.
you do it now? Now I'm just curious here. So if I'm talking to
Yeah.
my dad and he wants to talk to me about his life and his friends, I don't experience that as pressure. I experience that as sharing. And gosh, Dad,
Mhm.
I'd love to know. I'd love my dad's gone now. He died in '08. But when he would talk to me about his friends and stuff and all that, I would
Mhm.
experience it. So what makes it negative? That sounds cool to me for Dad to
So
talk about his life.
I know, right? It does. I know. It's very weird the way that he kind of
Okay, well,
manipulates it.
just tell
So,
tell me what it is. How is it? How does it feel? You said he puts pressure on you. How does it feel, crummy?
so he'll a lot of times like he'll say, you know, these are my friends, and he never really like grew like when we were growing up he never had friends, so this is like kind of a
Okay,
new thing for him. And
great.
so he always is like trying to like prove to us that he he has these friends, and then he'll say that they're using him and that nothing is going the way he wants to go with these so-called friends. And we try to be a listening ear, but sometimes he'll call me drunk and talk about his relationship with his brothers and how they're treating him
Okay,
very
but how
poorly.
does
All of it's
I
very negative.
still forget the drunk part. When he's griping about his friends, how does that put pressure on you?
I think because I feel that he is trying to somehow make me feel guilty about not spending all of my time with him and not prioritizing him.
How does he do that?
Because since, well, sometimes in conversation or in text,
okay,
yeah.
and it says what?
So sometimes, like in text, he'll say things like, "I understand if you don't want to spend time with me. That's that's under you know you have your own life. Like he'll kind of go on and on, sort of like a guilt
What
trip.
did you say you didn't want to spend time with him?
No, no, never. Like it'll
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
even will be
All
if
right.
I've invited him to do something, he'll be
Let
like,
me
"Don't
kind
worry
of,
about me."
yeah, let me kind of put this into an issue. Okay.
Uh huh.
Um, I I don't think that this can be ever fully resolved, uh, having anything to do just with his behavior. Okay. I think this got to be
Mhm.
resolved by changing some of the, whatever you want to call these, kind of triggers in your head. Okay.
Mhm.
That when he throws out bait, it's able to push a button that's active.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
So he goes, well, you don't have to spend time with me. Okay. Now, if I don't have a trigger inside for that, when, like, I want you to be your dad. Okay. And I'm going to be you.
Mhm.
Do to me what he does to you.
Well, I understand, like, you guys have your own life. You don't need to spend time with me. Don't worry about me. No, it's not a big deal. But like, I really, I just don't really have anybody,
Yeah.
It's
Gosh,
like-
dad, that's hard. I hope you can find some friends or somebody that can do something on Saturday. Do want to spend time with you. What's another date that would work?
oh,
See,
no, 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 no. Don't worry
I
about
don't
me.
feel
Don't
any
worry
guilt
about
at
me.
all. What's that?
Right, right. No, he would, so then he would come back. No, 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 no. Don't worry about me. I already know y'all are busy. You don't need to spend time with me. That's not, no, it's okay. I understand. And he would,
Okay, Dad,
whatever, end the call like that.
Dad, I'm not worried. I'm going to ask you again. I'd like to see you. What's a good time for you? TikTok.
So when I do that, he doesn't respond. And then the next time I talk to him, he's like, "Well, why did
Well,
you never call me? Why did you never set that up?"
hey, Dad, go check your text. I responded and I didn't hear back from you. So here's the deal, Dad. I do want to see you. Um, Sometimes it can't be at the time that you want, and I don't want you to interpret that as I don't want to see you, but I do want to see you. I just can't do it all the time that you want. But if you give me some times,
Mhm.
I'll always do my best to make it work. Now, and Dad, I got to go. I got to go. Change the tires on my tractor. See, when
Mhm.
people are able to manipulate us, there's got to be something inside of us, some kind of button that
Yeah.
pushes. If there's no Velcro to hold on to that message, then it doesn't have any power. And so,
Mhm.
what I would want you to do is to begin to look at where do these feelings come from inside that just because somebody wants something, I have to do it. And if I don't do it, that
Yeah.
somehow I'm bad or selfish or this and the other. Now, probably growing up in an alcoholic home, there's all sorts of cross boundaries in the messages that you got. And this is the main bottom line. I want you to learn this and go think about it. The main bottom line in one of the main bottom lines in an addictive family is you are responsible for me and my feelings. You are
Mhm.
responsible for me and my feelings. If I feel sad or deprived, that's because you did something to me and you should fix it. Versus,
Mhm.
oh, it's a bummer. You can't have lunch with me. I'm sad. See, that's my problem. So, what I want you to think about is getting into your head is I am not responsible for my dad's feelings or disappointments or life. I am responsible to him, like responsible to anyone else, to treat him lovingly and kindly and all of that. But I'm not responsible for taking care of his disappointments. Now, if you can get that in your head, and I want you to keep practicing that, every time he gives you a disappointment, then you're going to be able to empathize with it. Say, yeah, I know, Dad, that's hard. If you don't have any friends to go out with, go find some or, join a club or something. Okay. But you're not going to hop
Mhm.
over the fence all of a sudden feeling the pressure to feel like you have to fix it. Okay. I want you to think
Mhm.
about that sentence. That's got to become your mantra. get some support around that, but I am not responsible for dad's feelings. I'm responsible
Yeah.
to his feelings by being empathic and understanding that that's frustrating for him. So I want you to go
Mhm.
think about that and see if that gives you some freedom.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Pick up the book
All right. Thank
Boundaries. You
you.
might pick up the book Boundaries. You
I
might
have it.
find,
I have
well,
it.
pick you.
I need to look it back. Yeah.
I didn't say buy it. I said pick it up. You already got it. Pick it up. I've talked to a lot of people. I go, you ought to read
Pick it up.
Boundaries, and they go, well, I read it. It didn't. I said, but did you do it? You got to
Yeah.
do what it says. So I want you to go pick it up. It's going to have some things in there about responsible for and responsible to, and then go see what you find. Okay. Thank you for your
Okay.
call. It's a
Thank
great,
you.
thank you. It's a great thing to look at inside of us because none of us are clear all the time about where the boundaries end and where they begin. One of the early early stories in the Bible, Cain and Abel. What, am I my brother's keeper? Am I responsible for, and there's just a built-in dilemma to life, guys. I mean, let's just admit it. If you are a loving and responsible, kind person and you care, somebody else's distress is going to pull at your heartstrings. All right. Because you feel for them. They're in pain in some way. But here's the thing you got to learn. Just because I feel something for you, that's not the decision maker that I have to do something for you. Okay. Because many times doing something for you is the worst thing for you. See, a lot of times when we solve somebody else's problem, then we've crippled them, we just delayed the lesson, or we've given them a wrong view of the world that they're not going to have to solve their own problems and, be responsible. The only way an alcoholic's can get their act together is that you can relate to them, feeling for them, and holding them responsible for their own choices. So, just because you feel something doesn't mean it's time to do something, or particular, maybe whatever it was that you were going to do that relieves the feeling of the other person. Okay. As I've shared on the show, I just got a knee replacement a few weeks back, 4 weeks back now, and I go to physical therapy. Okay. You know what? My therapist says all the time, I said, I say, well, when are we going to get to, this many degrees of range or this many? She goes, I'm not going to get to any of them. You are. And she, she keeps clarifying the boundaries. It's your knee. You're the one that's got to move it. You're the one that's got to step into the pain. I can't do it. I want to look at her and say, okay, I wrote a book on this. I understand. It's my knee, but I'm asking you a question. Frustrates me. But the point is true. I mean, I'm the one that's got to do it. Okay. 844-940-2774 is our number to get on the program. Let's go and talk to Jessica, who's in New York, and she wants to talk about her marriage. Jessica, welcome to the program.
Hi. Thank you, Dr. Cloud.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll start off with my question.
Yeah.
So my husband struggles with pornography. It's something that started when he was younger. He had access to broadband before, Wi-Fi, like all that stuff before we did. Anyways, so
Wait, let me clarify a couple of things. How old is he?
he is 33.
33. Okay. And when you say he struggles,
He's addicted
how's
to
he
it.
struggling? Sometimes when people say he struggles with, what they mean is he uses porn. Sometimes struggles
Right.
means he uses porn and he's fighting against it and struggling with it, but he's having trouble in the struggle. So which one is it?
It's I mean it's hard because I don't really know how often it is because he lies about it to me because he's it's not something he's proud of, and it's not that lying's okay, um yeah, he goes periods of time where he's not looking at it, and he's being very diligent about putting up safeguards and reaching out. He should he needs to reach out more, but like he goes through periods of times when he's
Reaching out
to like
means what?
an accountability partner or somebody.
Oh, okay. So he's actually got some things in place that are. He says, "I got a problem, and I'm working on it."
Yeah, because I've told him, I
That's
said,
good.
you need to stop this. Like, I'm not going to put up with this. I don't want this in my life.
Okay.
So yeah, so we've been to counseling together. Like, it was like years ago, like 8 years ago was the first time we went to counseling.
Oh,
And
wow.
then
You guys been
he was
together.
meeting with somebody. Yeah, it's been 11 years.
Yeah.
So, and he's,
Okay.
I mean, honestly, yes, from the very beginning, he was, like right in the beginning of our marriage, he was looking at it, and I had no idea. I was really naive, so I'm not really sure how to go about this because I'm like done. I don't want it to come back again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be affecting me anymore.
I understand. So how do you, when you talk to him about it, how do you, what does that conversation sound like?
I guess it depends. Like, I might ask him, like, so how have you been doing with it? Especially if he hasn't been reaching out, because he doesn't like have a lot of close friends right now. But I'll ask him how he's been doing with it, and he'll be like, oh, I'm fine. I'm not really having the struggle, and he might tell me something as to why. But he'll even say that if I found something. And then he might kind of like justify, oh, well, I was just on the computer looking up this and then something popped up or whatever, and he's good at hiding it. So if I find something, I have to just take that as like for real because I don't know what else is under the surface. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
It
and
sounds like the way it's going now, you're kind of in kind of the policeman role.
yeah, and I don't like it.
Like, no, I wouldn't like that either, and it's not going to work. So one of the things that's got to shift in this is right now you care more about the problem than he does.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
you're not the one that can control the problem. So anytime in
Right.
life, when we care more about somebody doing something or stopping something than they do, then we're going to be in a control battle. We're going to be in a, I'm the
Right.
parent, you're the child, and they're going to resist and all the other crap that goes with that. Right. So,
Yeah.
so one of the things
And then there's
that's got to,
resentment and bitterness towards me.
oh, yeah, totally. So you said something a moment ago that I want you to focus on. I said, how's the conversation go? And you said, well, I tell him, you need to stop doing this. Right.
Right.
Well, that's not true.
Because if he wants if he wants our relationship to be what he wants it to be, he can't.
No, whoa. Now that's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I
So
didn't
you
word it
just
right
made
the
a
first
shift.
time.
Well, it's not putting it right. It's getting a headspace right. Okay. Because we use
Mhm.
that phrase a lot when somebody's changing. You need to go do your homework, or you need to stop spending money, or you need, and basically, and here's what I want you to think about. When you say you need to stop using porn, that's just
Mhm.
patently not true. He feels no need to stop using it.
Yeah,
And so,
he's
hold on a second.
okay.
What we got to do is we've got to, and I talk about this in parenting a lot too, is
Mhm.
you've got to transfer the need to stop using porn from you feeling, you need for him to stop, what we've got to do is figure out a way where he feels the need to stop. He doesn't feel that right now,
Right.
right? So then you kind of switched into something that sounded very helpful. You said, well, he does if he wants the relationship to be A, B, C, or D, right? So
Yeah.
I would want you to think about how to talk to him in this way. Something like that starts with, I would like to hear, honey, I'd like to hear your vision for our marriage. I'd like to know what you would like for it to be like. And I'd like to know how close you feel like it is to that right now. And I would want to pull out from him. See, we're trying to solve a problem, but we're trying to solve a problem against nothing. What are we trying to get to? I would like for you guys to come up with a picture of what you want your relationship to look like. And see, he's going to say in there, I want to be close to you, or I want to have a great sex life, or I want us to be good parents, or, whatever it is. And you're going to hear all this, and then you're going to join that, right? And say, I want those things too. And then you're going to start talking about how do you think that, what would it take for you, honey, for us to get there? And then you're starting to kind of hear from him, well, what does he think needs to be changed? And then you come from your side and say, well, let me tell you what it would take from my side for us to get there. One of the things is I can't get there sharing you with porn. Okay? I can't get, so if you want me to be with you in the ways that you just described, then I can't share you with porn. So that's just an absolute no, I can't do that. See, now instead of trying to get him to stop, he's going to see, well, then I need to give that up if I'm going to have you. Do you see the difference in the flavor of that?
Yeah. It probably sounds a little bit more compassionate than how I've said it.
Well, I'm sure that's true, because this is enraging, right? You want your husband
I'm trying not to
go in and he's like, in fantasy land. But it's not only more compassionate, there's no control dynamic. That's the big issue. You're setting him free. You're saying, you can have porn if you want to, but you can't have porn and me.
Yeah,
so you got to choose.
I told him that, like, even like a couple weeks ago. I was like, I don't want to be attached to those like other women, like through you. Like I want separate, like that kind of thing. I'm not really describing it very well right now, but I told him that a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, you can do what you want. That's fine, but I just can't, like, it's not something that I want. But I didn't really ask him, like, his vision for our marriage or anything.
I
but,
would
like,
start
he'll
there.
tell me everything's fine, but it's
not. I'd also be firm about the limit. And so what I would say is, and we probably need some way of knowing how I'm going to know that, get some way of verifying this. And I don't really know how to do this. So why don't we go talk to a counselor together? Because this is my absolute limit. I can't be intimate with you. I can't be close to you as long as I'm sharing you with pornography. And you just have a clear limit about that. Now here's the other thing, and then I got to go to some other callers.
Okay.
One of the big problems here is right now, I think he sees the biggest problem with porn is you. If you didn't have a problem with this, it wouldn't be a problem. I bet that's what's in his head, right?
Yeah. I mean, he might say otherwise, because he does want to be close to God, but you know how, I don't think that's exactly how it works, right?
Well, but he doesn't see it. He doesn't see it as destructive. See, whenever God has his rules, why do I have rules for my kids? When I tell them, uh, Olivia, come to a complete stop at the, when you are driving the car. It's not so much that if you don't come to a complete stop, we're not going to be close or something like that. You're going to get hit, right? So right now, he doesn't understand the destructiveness to his soul that this is doing and the destructiveness to his marriage. And so to do that, what I'm suggesting is he probably needs to get into some sort of a setting with other men, or like an SA group, or call New Life and find out about their Every Man's Battle workshops. I would go inquire about that, because he'd meet other men that have the same problem.
Or have
And
him inquire, like.
exactly, say I want you to find out about, because right now it's like somebody telling somebody to stop smoking, because I don't like smoke, but they don't really have a good understanding of that's going to kill them. So anyway, I'd affirm the limits. I'd transfer the need to him. I would do it with a clear choice, but I would also get some people or counselor involved to let you know. But all of this in light of a vision for your marriage, and see if that takes it to a different kind of conversation. Okay, I got to run. Sorry about your pain, but I think if he's struggling with it, then that says there's something in him that wants it to be better. And I think if he can get in a setting, with a good spiritual mentor or somebody helps him understand, then, obviously this problem can be overcome. Okay. Tough things. We talked about negotiation earlier. If we have more time, we can talk about really what a negotiation looks like in that scenario, because really that's what you're doing. You're negotiating with a spouse that you want certain things in your relationship. You want closeness, you want deep empathy, you want connection, but you have some other things that have to be satisfied in order for that to occur. You got some certain parameters, right? Some certain, qualifications. And then if you start listening to the other side, instead of judging it, I would like to hear, so when do you use it? When do you find you need to use the board? Well, what's going on at that moment? Well, maybe we just had a fight. Okay, well, what is it about I'm doing when we have a fight that makes it difficult for you to come talk to me, instead of using porn to go hide from talking to me? Because if I'm making it hard for me to talk to, I don't want to do that. See, now we're negotiating into, if your porn use is in the service of avoiding conflict, and you go, makes you feel good because conflict makes you feel bad. I need to know how I can change to make it better for you to be able to talk to me. And in all of these scenarios, when we're listening to the other person and finding out, what problem can I be a part of helping solve for you, so that you can solve my problem, which is I don't want to be with somebody who's using porn. And then we get working with each other to help solve each other's problems. Okay, so let's go to Amy, who's calling us from Birmingham. Now, here's a good question. What's the best way to talk about sex with my children? Well, you could farm it out. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Amy, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr. Cloud. I appreciate you taking the time to take our call and to have this show. And I'm learning so much, and just really appreciate your investment into people like you have, through not just your books,
so
but
kind.
also the show.
I'm glad it's helpful. It's been fun to do. If we build an audience, I'll keep doing it. So thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Now, did you call
absolutely.
me? Did you call to explain the birds and the bees to me? Tell me how this works. Amy, where do babies come from? And why do I hear those sounds coming out of yours and Dad's room sometime? What's happening, Amy?
Oh, goodness me. Yes, all of those things.
All of those things.
All of those things. My husband and I, we have 2 girls, and we love having 2 little girls. Our oldest is 9, our youngest is 4. and our 9-year-old is entering 4th grade. And I kind of feel like the clock is ticking, and I hope it hasn't ticked past my recognition of it. But
Probably has.
we really want to be the we really want to be the one to introduce sex and all of those things to both of our kids. And
I'm sorry. I got to tell you,
I need help.
I have 2 girls, right, and they're 20 months apart. And I remember, one time Lucy, and I don't know how old she was, but she comes into the kitchen. I'm going to say maybe, I don't know how old she was. It's roughly in that time frame when kids start to talk on the schoolyard. And so she had the birds and the bees things, but she comes in and she goes, "Mom, Sophie told me that sometimes people do that thing, big people do that thing, not just to have a baby, but they do it for fun." And so my wife goes, "Well, yeah, I think, that's true. And then she goes, wait. Do you and Dad? Wait, no, wait." And then Tori goes, "Well, married couples." And she goes, "Wait, what? Like what? Like what? How often?" And
Yeah.
pretty soon my wife is figuring out I am way further down the road in this conversation than I want to be in. And then she goes, "Well,
Yeah.
was I here?" So anyway, point being, you're going to find was I in the house? Point being that you've got to, you got to be prepared for you set the terms of when you want to have this conversation. So why is this hard? Why just go to you get one of the little books and you talk to one of the people that are good at this, like, teachers or youth leaders or whatever, and you sit down and have it. So what's the big problem?
I guess maybe it's out of my own experience. My mom sat down and had that chat with me when I was in 5th grade, and she was too late. I had been introduced to it by a great, friend that I went to school and to church with that was, having a play date at my house when we were playing Barbie dolls, and she spilled the beans to me. And our teacher was pregnant at the time. We were in the same class, and I was horrified. Mrs. Freimeyer did that, and just absolutely horrified.
Yeah.
And then I actually, out of that, felt great shame. For years, because I felt like I knew something I wasn't supposed to know, or almost like I had done something wrong. And I think it kind of shaped my whole view of sex, even though that wasn't when my mom sat down. She did.
Did she use any little books?
She did. She had a book from the Christian bookstore. I don't remember which one. This is a while ago. I was 11. I'm 38 now. So this is years ago. But she had, it was a book, and it had, of course, age appropriate kind of animated cartoon figure pictures about, your body as a woman and the body of a man and how God designed, the family and how God designed sex and all of these things. And so that conversation wasn't uncomfortable or wasn't awkward, but I never felt like, and even to this day, I don't think my mom knows that she did not introduce sex to me. And I never felt like I could really say that to her. And so and then I think in general, we had that talk, and then she never checked back in with me, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And,
so here's what I would do.
Even to the point of me getting married before my honeymoon, there was no like.
Oh no, you didn't know. You didn't know before your honeymoon. I bet that was an interesting
No, I did.
Okay. I'm kidding.
I did. But there was no more conversation, not even
I'm kidding.
fun
Okay,
or lighthearted.
let me suggest something to you here. First of all, like you're saying, she's 9. You kind of got to get with it here soon because, things get talked about on the playground. But I bet that this has not more to do with the technique of how your mom did it or didn't do it or waited or whatever. It probably had more to do with the dynamic of the relationship, the comfort level and all of that. So if I were you, I would look at your relationship with your daughter and kind of look at, how much comfort is there talking about uncomfortable stuff, and know the windows into her soul about kind of what makes her feel comfortable. And I am so glad that we had daughters, because I didn't do this. My wife did it. And that's one of the things I laughed at. You get to have the talk, right? but I would want to kind of talk with her in a way that say, okay, I want to talk to you about something that might feel a little weird. Might feel a little weird talking about this. And you might have you heard anything on the playground or anything? Anybody ever talk about, do you know what the word sex means? Do you know it? Anybody ever talk about where kids come from? Have y'all talked about that at school? And I would try to draw out of her first, say, well, I'm glad you're talking about it, and reinforce that she's talking about it so she doesn't feel bad about it. It's normal for you to start to wonder about, I mean, little boys' bodies are different than little girls' bodies. Do you know why? And I would take a questioning approach and kind of find out where she is and then meet her there. And then
that's really
once
good.
you do that, and then you can kind of check in with her like your mom didn't do later and say, so did you go talk to any of your friends about what we talked about, or have you heard any more about it or anything? And just kind of, and it'll ease on into, pretty soon, that's the last thing in the world she's going to want to talk to you about.
Right.
But you've done your work. And so I would do it that way. I'd make it comfortable, but I'd draw it out of her first, and then
good. Yeah.
Kind of go from there. All right. Got to run.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Your call.
That's so helpful.
You know what? Why don't you call in when you have this talk with her, and all of us can listen and see how you did.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just set up my little camera and record it, and you can put it on YouTube for everybody too.
You know what? I've never done this, but I bet if you go to YouTube, there's probably
there might be.
I probably shouldn't say what I'm about to say. I don't know why I shouldn't say this. What's wrong with this? But I got to tell you, one of the funniest ones I ever heard was a pastor friend of mine told me that with his son, friend's son, that he had to have the talk, and he took his son out fishing. And so they're out there fishing in the boat. And so he says, so Billy, that little, I don't know what he called it, his anatomical part, right? He said, that little that you got there hanging between your legs? And he goes, yeah, Dad. And the father goes, son, you're not going to believe what you're going to be able to do with that thing.
Oh, gosh.
That's how he started the conversation. I go, well, he's a pastor. Is that that's probably the new Christian standard. Son, you're not going to believe what you're going to be able to do. So, anyway, it takes all kinds. If that's helpful to you, use it. And I appreciate your call. Okay, thank you. This is the Dr. Cloud program. We are just about out of time again. I can't believe that. I wonder if you know what? We're going to try to get this in fast. Let's go to Rada, who is calling us all the way, international caller of the day. She's calling us from Switzerland, it looks like, right? Rada, welcome to the program.
Yes, that's right. Hello, thank you, Dr. Cloud. I just wanted to say
what time is it there?
It's 7 o'clock. It's 3 to 7.
That's not bad.
PM.
That's not bad. So
I just wanted to thank you first for a few of your books, which also led me to become Christian. So thank you very much.
Which book led you to knowing Jesus?
Boundaries. I read Boundaries, Safe People, and Difficult Conversations, and Necessary Endings.
How about that? And you found God in those pages somewhere.
Right. I grew up in the U.S., so it was very helpful for me to draw some truths that normally I don't get from just church messages, I must say.
Okay, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for saying that, first of all, because that is my heartbeat in life, is that I'm going to take a second to highlight this, because I want people to think about this. So many times we think of God, and I always hear the term organized religion, whatever the heck that is. We think of God and all this kind of stuff as just a bunch of rules and blah 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 and whatever. What we don't think about is what you just said. And that's actually what changed my life, was when I threw out all the stuff that I had heard, and I went and I read actually what it is that he says. And I found in, when I read it directly, that as a psychologist, okay, as a psychologist, everything that I was learning that research validates scientifically is true, the Bible was telling me to do those things. And I thought, wait a minute, this faith thing has way more to do with living a healthy life and a satisfying, what Jesus called the abundant life, than some kind of religious nonsense. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I've dedicated really a lot of my work to, is just to try to show the principles that the faith talks about. And if Jesus said this, he said, if you listen to my teachings and you walk in my ways, then you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. It's not a lot of times because somebody's preaching the truth. It's because we look at, what did he actually say? Let me try that in my life. And then I'm going to go, wait a minute, this God stuff must be real, because this is
Mm-hmm.
the deepest truth. Anyway, I wanted to highlight that. I appreciate your bringing it up. But tell me,
Right.
tell me, tell me what your question is.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. So basically, maybe because I guess your wife is German, as if I understood that right. In Europe, we get a job and we have this 3-month Probezeit, which is kind of probation period, where you have rights to quit and your boss can fire you. And I'm in a new job where I realize that there are so many issues. It's at university and I'm lab manager, and the boss seems to be controlling. And my question is, how do I know if I should walk away?
Okay.
And I
And,
just
and
give 2 examples quickly. Mm-hmm.
no, go ahead. I was going to ask you for an example.
Yeah, I love the students. I love the postdoc. It's international environment. Mostly Anglo-Americans are great for me to work with because they get all of these concepts.
And what is the setting? What is the setting you're working in? You said you love the students. What's the setting?
Yeah, I teach the students, graduate students, and postdoc how to do certain experiments, and I organize the lab and run the laboratory.
Okay, what kind of lab
the
is
boss
it?
is a professor.
What kind of
It's
school? What kind of? It's what?
It's biomedical engineering laboratory.
Okay, all right. So you run the lab. Okay, got it.
One of the best It's one of the best institutions in Europe.
Great.
The
Okay.
boss is a professor, but he's a very controlling person, and he keeps changing his mind. When we agree on something, he keeps changing his mind, and a lot of energy is taken on basically reminding him what he agreed to.
A lot of energy is taken on what?
On reminding him what we agreed to.
Oh, okay. And then when you remind him, does he go, "Oh yeah, you're right"?
He still argues why he still thinks that we should do things differently, but then because he needs me more, I guess, in this relationship, then I need the job, but I also need the job, right? But he is afraid that I will walk away. He then gives up on my argument, because I told him we agreed on this.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you something to think about here. This is a great question, because I think a lot of people run into this issue, and then for time's sake, I gotta run. But one of the things that I find really, really helpful in scenarios like this is when, if you can approach it and go to your boss and say, "So you know what, I let me tell you my goal here. My goal is to make you win. I want the things that are important to you, the agendas we've set, the goals we've set, all the outcomes we've set. My role in this is to do certain things that can make that happen. So I'm really here to serve you. That's my job. Okay. It's part of my job. Um, in in order for me to best do that, in order for me to best get, I think, what you want, what I have to be clear on is what it is you actually want, and then I need to be free to be able to go execute that. Okay. And so sometimes I don't feel really clear because we'll talk about, like we talked about, you wanted the beakers put on this shelf at this temperature, and then later, I'm making this up, right? And so sometimes it changes, and then I don't feel like I serve you well when it changes. So here's what I would propose. Why don't we, and I'm going to give you a little formula here to go think about with him for yourself and with him, but I find it very, very powerful. Why don't we think about, let's sit down and talk about some mutual, and here's the phrase, mutually agreed upon expectations. Okay. Mutually agreed upon expectations. And now when we, in projects, let's write those down. So we both know, here's what you're expecting. I'm agreeing to meet that expectation. Okay.
I have all that.
Hold on. And then we're going to talk about, okay, how will we inspect and when will we inspect to make sure that that's done? Okay. So let's say we're going to have this expectation. Then Thursday, we're going to get together for 10 minutes and see where it is, or this, that, and the other. And then if we find that it's not where it ought to be, we'll talk about how to fix it. So if you set it up ahead of time and you add to it, how are we going to inspect it to make sure I'm meeting your expectations? Then we have something to talk about. But a lot of times when it's fuzzy, we don't. Can you try that?
Yeah, I've done that. He agreed, and we have it signed. We had to submit this, goals to HR, and then he wants to change these plans again. And so basically, he doesn't want to actually really agree because he wants to have quote unquote freedom to change, and maybe he has not really agreed. He actually wants me to do two jobs in one job.
Well,
so
then I would try to find out if it's an ironclad agreement or not. But as the boss, he does have the prerogative to change a project, change a direction, this, that, and the other. But here's the question I want you to learn. When he does that, say, okay, I'll be, you're the boss. I can do whatever you want. But I just want you to understand, if I do change it and I go that direction, here's what I can't do anymore. So I can't do both, or here's going to be the consequences. And I just want to make sure with the change that you're also knowing that that's what you're agreeing to, and just be clear. And then it's his problem because the results are going to fall in his lap. But I would go that next step. And then at some point, you ought to have in some way, and I'm looking at the clock here, I really got to run. At some point, you ought to have it in some way to say to him, you know what, we're having difficulty here, and I really want to do this well. So we need to go talk to somebody above us. We need to talk to HR, or we need to talk to your boss or whatever, because I really want to do this well, but we're kind of stuck. And it ought to have a place to appeal it. And ultimately, like you said earlier, sometimes you just realize I got to transfer to another department. I can't work with this guy. Or you tell HR that, and this is the 18th complaint that they've heard, and they realize we got to get rid of this guy or move him or something. But ultimately, remember, you're in control of your career and get your other options, but that's kind of how I would begin to approach it, in making it his problem. Okay. Sorry, I got to run. I would like to talk longer.
Great.
But
thanks.
We are.
Thank you. That is very helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hope it's helpful. Okay. Thanks. Oh gosh, this is a Dr. Cloud program. Thank you for tuning in. It goes so fast. I love talking to you guys. Love talking to the audience. I love talking about the issues we talk about because they're all important and it's fun. So we'll be back again tomorrow. I think tomorrow we're back at our regular time, 1 o'clock Pacific, and that's when you can call in live. Refer the show, refer the program to your friends. It sits up there 24/7. They can download it as a podcast on boundaries.me. And also, if you want to learn more about the things we talk about and at least my approach to all of these issues, and you want to kind of get the inner peek into the library behind it all, go to boundaries.me, boundaries.me, sign up, become a member, and won't cost you anything. You got a trial there. You can go look at the whole library of stuff, all sorts of lessons on all these different things. And that is all found at boundaries.me. Okay. Love you guys. You're the best audience in the world. Love hanging out with you. And because of that, let's both be here tomorrow at the same time. Okay. Bye-bye.